Is there an online course inside of you that's just dying to get out? Are you an artist, creative that's been thinking about putting together an online course, but you're just not sure how to get started? If that sounds like you, then episode 27 of the Creativepreneur Podcast is for you. So, stay tuned. Hello, my name is Rodney Washington, author, artist, and entrepreneur, and I'm passionate about helping creatives just like you do what lights you up and make a comfortable living while doing it. Each week, I'll be sharing timely business growth, marketing, and mindset hacks and interviews with courageous creative entrepreneurs to inspire you to get paid for your creativity. So grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and enjoy today's show. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by my free audio, book, and PDF, Get Paid for Your Creativity, 57 Ways to Monetize Your Gifts and Create True Security for Yourself. To get your hands on a copy of the free audiobook and PDF, go to getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57 ways gift. Welcome back to the podcast. This week, I'm doing something a little special. First of all, if you are a regular listener to the podcast, I usually put out episodes on Tuesday. And I mentioned, I believe in episode, it was number 23 or 4, I believe. I can't remember quite which at the moment. I said I was going to start changing up things a little bit, and I was thinking about putting out the podcast on Friday. So this is the first day that I'm doing this. I'm putting out this episode on a Friday. I just want to do it maybe like this for a couple of weeks to just kind of test and shake things up a little bit and see how that affects downloads and it affects audience participation and reach and that kind of thing. And I'm going to try that out for a few weeks, even though the banners on my social media following say a fresh episode on Tuesday. I'm going to switch it up for just a couple of weeks to test things out and try it on Friday and see what that does. I think that's important to switch things up and just kind of change things around sometimes so that you don't get stale and it doesn't, it just kind of keeps things interesting and fresh. So I'm going to try this out for a couple of weeks, see how it goes. If I don't see much of a difference, I'll go back to Tuesdays as my regular day to put out the episode. So for right now, we're putting out episodes on Friday, this Friday, and next week's episode is going to be on a Friday as well. So I just want to put that out there in case you're a regular listener and you're wondering why this episode didn't come out on Tuesday. We're doing something special and changing things up. So anyway, secondly is I actually had a little bit of a struggle this week. I was struggling I wasn't inspired by anything. I wasn't really feeling anything that I really wanted to spend some time diving into and talking about, and something that I felt like would be a really service to you. So it took me a couple of days to actually find that little spark of inspiration, motivation that I needed to find a topic that really inspired me. And so that's another reason why the episode is a few days late in coming out, because it took me a couple of days to really find something that really spoke to me. And as I started thinking about what in personally what's going on for me right now and things I'm thinking about doing and actually planning on doing, is I'm really interested in creating an online course of my own. Now, before I get into what I'm going to talk about on the subject of online courses, I actually have 3 online courses, a couple of them free and one of them paid. And so I've done the online course process before, but I want to talk about, before I get into that, and what I want to share that'll hopefully inspire you and maybe help move you past some possible blocks that you might have about putting together a course of your own. I want to get into that and also share a couple of inspirational people that I've come across lately that's actually reignited I'm going to go so far as to say it's my passion for creating a creative online course particularly for creatives teaching other creatives whatever their particular artistic expression or discipline may be. But what I wanted to start off by talking about is why, for me, online courses, or any kind of a course in particular, is really of strong passion and interest for me. And what I can suffice to say is that I'm an educator at heart. I love teaching, but more specifically, I love sharing information. I feel a lot of my love for information comes from me, hanging out with my mom when I was a kid. My mom was a school teacher. And so as a kid, I used to go to work with her sometimes. And occasionally she would take me to work with her. And so that was my first exposure to the exchange of information in a classroom setting. And so watching her in the classroom, seeing how she interacted with her students, how her words and her actions influenced them, what I didn't really fully appreciate at the time is that it was equally influencing me. So as a kid, I thought, hanging out with my mom at work gave me the opportunity to kind of play hooky from having to sit through my own boring classes. But that early love for teaching and sharing information and resources is in huge part why I've created my own online courses. I've written and published couple of print books, also ebooks. I've launched I've been involved in the launch of 3 telesummits, virtual telesummits, 2 of my own and one I produced for a client. All of this to say is that I've always had a love for teaching and sharing information, and this being my actually third podcast that I have. So this has always been a part of who I am. Now, what I love about having a podcast in particular is that I love that I can just come up with an idea, something that inspires me, like what we're talking about today, draft up an outline, fire up the MacBook Pro, grab the mic, and start talking. So again, it's that exchange of information, that exchange of resources, and hopefully inspiring the listener to be able to start to take some of the things I'm sharing and run with it for themselves. That really motivates me. Now, as I said, in addition to over the years of the podcasting that I've done, I've inspired me to write and publish books, as I've said, other podcasts, etc. So it would suffice to say that I know a little bit about taking ideas, thoughts, and experiences, the things that are living in your head, packaging them up, and presenting them to the world both for free and, yes, for sale. So if you're currently thinking about or have ever thought about packaging up your experiences, your expertise into a product like an online course that you can use for either a giveaway to grow your email list, like my 57 Ways ebook and audiobook. That's basically a mini course, but you can use that as a freebie to build your list or to grow your bank account. This podcast episode is for you. As a matter of fact, what this particular subject and what I'm going to talk about today has inspired me so much that I'm actually going to make the next few episodes. I'm going to continue this conversation about various aspects of developing a concept, an idea, and the mechanics of actually putting together an online course. So this is going to be like a mini series I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks. So I'm really excited about that. Now, what really inspired me to dive into this topic was recently I just finished. I don't know if you have heard of Amy Porterfield or if you're familiar with Amy Porterfield. I'll put her link in the show notes. Amy Porterfield is an online educator. She has several courses to her credit. Actually, she's built a multi-million-dollar empire based on teaching entrepreneurs, I'll just say, how to create and set up their own online courses. And she's just recently completed the 2019 launch for her program, Digital Course Academy. It will not be available again, and I think she said until September of 2020. So at the time that you're listening to this, if you're listening to this around early October, the launch, she just completed the 2019 launch. It won't open again for another year, but again, I'll put a link in the show notes and you can go over to her website and maybe get on the wait list and check it out for when it comes out next year. But again, what inspired me to, like I said, to focus on this topic for this particular episode was one of her students, one of Amy's students that actually she worked with and is a creative, an artist, a culinary artist that has mastered the art of making caramel apples. And she's created an online course teaching other crafters, if you will, home crafters or home cooks or whatever, how to create caramel apples. And they're not just regular caramel apples, but she has a really beautiful technique for decorating them and making them just really fun and playful and just quite like pieces of art, in my opinion, in and of themselves. And so Amy was introduced, this young lady whose name I'm going to mention in just a second, to to the to us as the listeners and the viewers of her recent launch for Digital Course Academy. She introduced this young lady and showed us how, a lot of people who create online courses think that the only courses that make money are the ones around how to make money. And what Amy wanted to do was to introduce all the different types of students that she has in her programs. In particular, this young lady here who is not in the how to make money business, but how to make caramel apples. And so she's built an online course with Amy's help, and she sells the course for about $200. And her first launch, she sold, I believe it was a little over $60,000 worth of this course on how to make caramel apples. So let that set and marinate for just a second. We all, again, if you're familiar with the online course world, we all see the things about how to launch products and anything to do with how to make money online. But, we forget that there are people making money with online courses that teach people how to paint, how to do photography, how to make caramel apples, how to bake sourdough bread, how to make dolls. I mean, there's just how to make corsets. In the online course industry is growing exponentially as more and more people are kind of transitioning away from the traditional university college system. They're wanting to be able to learn on the go. And so they're taking more online courses in all different types of subjects and areas just for own creative expression, just to kind of, just to shake things up in their life. So anything from jewelry making to, like I said, painting to Scrabble tile, you name it. It doesn't have to be about how to make money online or how to lose weight or how to find a relationship. Nothing wrong with those topics, mind you, but there's a whole, area which I feel like is so perfect for my listeners of the Creativepreneur podcast, because we are all creatives. And so I think understanding and knowing that you have the ability to take your talent, your skill, your knowledge, your passion, the thing that you do, and if you can, package that information up in a way, which we'll talk about more of the packaging aspect of this in a future episode of this series, you actually can make a living, quite frankly, or supplement living to the expression of the craft it is of yourself. So while this young lady that I just mentioned a moment ago, she still sells her caramel apples, I think hosts a retail, she also has this course teaching others how to make her caramel apples. And as I said, as a result of her doing that, she's, like I said, added another 5 figures to her income stream and like a mid 5 figures to her income stream. So that's something to take notice about. And like I said, I loved her story, and I'm going to go so far as to say that it's my hope that I can get her on the podcast to interview, because I was so taken aback by her story. I was so inspired by it that I thought, wow, if she can do this with something like how to teach someone how to make caramel apples, it's possible for a creative to make a course around any creative subject. Bottom line is this: if there's an audience for it that has a proven track record of purchasing something similar to what you're thinking about teaching, you have a potential to create an online course for yourself. And actually, one of the things I'm going to talk about too in the episode is if you're, kind of feeling like you're not sure if there's a market for what you're thinking about, I'm also going to talk about some resources that you can go to just do some research. And also a link to another podcast episode that will help you deep dive into the research phase even further to start the validation process if there is a need and a demand and a market for the course you're thinking about putting together. But I'm going to save that for just a little bit. I'm going to talk about what could potentially be what I have found the issues that many people, creatives in particular, can have about even putting together an online course. Because the number one thing that I heard over and over and over again during the launch of Amy's program was people concerned about not feeling like they're an expert, or feeling like they have to be an expert. So, what I want to talk about here is four things that could be stumbling blocks that you're telling yourself that could be preventing you from getting your head in the mindset to even consider creating an online course. That first one being, I'm not an expert. And the other one being, I don't know enough about anything to get someone to pay me to teach it to them. Another one could be, why would someone give you money for information that they can find for free on YouTube? So I'm going to deep dive into all of these because I think that this here, until this gets cleared up, until you get your head wrapped around that these false assumptions that are holding you back, it's going to be hard for you to actually go to the next phase of validating the course idea during the research phase, and then putting together the components you need to put the actual course together. So let's start with the first one about the issue that a lot of creatives have in about being or not being an expert. This is something that I know I've personally struggled with, and so I feel like I can speak a lot into that. And the one thing I want to say, and this really helped to shift my mind about the thing about an expert or being an expert. Many people assume that in order to label yourself an expert, you have to have had gone to school, something in sort of like at a college university level, and have gotten a degree or some kind of certification in order to have the qualification or the credibility to teach something. Also, maybe you had years and years of work experience having done something before you can label yourself an expert. Or perhaps you've written and published a book or several articles, or something that some outside force or entity has deemed you worthy of being able to teach, and label yourself an expert. Now, in the case of the young woman that I'm going to mention her name in just a second here, about caramel apples, making caramel apples, there was no university program that she went through to get a degree in how to dip and make caramel apples. She didn't write a book on the subject, and she's not certified to do that. So I'm being a little tongue in cheek here, but the point I want to make is that you don't need to have an outside credential to give you permission to teach painting or to teach photography or to teach how to make caramel apples or how to bake sourdough bread or make Scrabble tile jewelry. No one is going to say, well, I can't take your course, or I'm not going to buy that from you because until you show me certification from an outside source that has deemed you worthy of being able to label yourself an expert. So again, I'm being a little tongue in cheek, but I really want to preface it in a way that you get your head around the idea, or the reality, I should say, that you don't, this saying you're not an expert is why you can't do something or teach something that feels good to you is a mental block. It's not an outside of your qualification block that literally someone is stopping you. Now, of course, if you're giving legal advice or medical advice or anything of that nature, obviously, yes, you do need to be credentialed. But outside of those two arenas, you don't need a credential. No one has to deign you worthy, or you're worthy of being able to teach someone a passion, a skill, a technique that you have. No one's gonna give you that. So, and then let's also take it a step further and expand it. If I have an interest in learning, and I like baking, which I do, I love baking and cooking, and I had an interest in particular on how to make caramel apples, if that's something that appeals to me, then you know what? I'd be a candidate for that course. And I'm not going to look at her credentials to see if she's qualified to teach the course. I'm going to connect with her on however I'm introduced to her via maybe a video on Facebook or Instagram, or I hear about her through someone else's podcast, or I go to some kind of an event and maybe she's there as a presenter, and I see that she has, courses or classes or something of that nature. However, I'm introduced to her. If I have an interest in that subject and I like and connect to her as a person, chances are pretty good that I'm going to pay enough attention to her that I'm going to want to potentially learn from her and, yes, possibly buy her course. And so that's the key in all of this. You want people to connect to you and feel like that you can actually show them something that they don't already know how to do, but have an interest in. And I think in the online course arena, again, for several years, it seems to be everything that you hear about is always about the three main areas: how to make money, how to find love or get into a better relationship, and how to do something with your body, lose weight, or whatever the case may be. Nothing wrong with those areas, those topics, but that's not the only thing selling. So again, if I want to learn how to make caramel apples, if I want to learn how to take better photographs with my iPhone, if I want to learn how to knit, if I want to learn how to, write music or play piano or guitar or whatever, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. If someone out there has more knowledge than I have on the subject, and I have enough of an interest in the subject, and I feel a connection to the person presenting the information, chances are good that I am going to want to check out that course. Now, what I want to suggest at this point you do, just to inspire you on what's possible, I want to inspire you. I want you to check out a platform called Udemy, udemy.com. The link is in the show notes on episode getpaidforyourcreativity.com/27 for episode 27. Check out the links in the show notes because I have links to Udemy and Skillshare. Just a perusal of those two platforms alone should pretty much kill any idea that you have in your head that creative ideas or artistic pursuits, there's no one buying those as courses. Now, I'm going to say something here. This because and it's really a personal feeling. It's not a slam or a slight about Udemy or Skillshare. This is just my personal opinion about it, but I want you to still check it out just to see what's already being sold out there. The thing in particular that I am not a huge fan of with Udemy and Skillshare is the pricing structure for the courses. A lot of the courses are roughly running around $10, $20, which I think is ridiculously too low to sell a course for. That's my opinion. The one advantage that you would have over considering putting your course on a Udemy or a Skillshare platform is that you would get a chance to take advantage of the network that they have established, and you're making your income on volume. So you're selling hundreds or thousands of courses as opposed to maybe, say, a course of the lady that does the caramel apples, which her course is $200. And like I said, $200 on how to make caramel apples. And yes, you heard me right, $200 for a course on how to make caramel apples. And she sold a little over, I think, $60,000 worth of courses. So the idea that you can only sell a course on what someone might call a light topic, like art or cooking or create some kind of creation, for basically pennies on the dollar, is not true. Now, the one advantage that you do have with Udemy is that or Skillshare, is once it's on the platform and it's approved, they will, within their network, drive traffic to your page to help you sell your course. I believe if you drive the traffic to the page on Udemy itself, or I'm just going to speak for Udemy. I can't speak for Skillshare on this to be confirmed that. But on Udemy, I believe you do get a higher percentage of the sale. If they drive the traffic to the sales page and they sell the course within their network, you get a lower percentage. again, what you're getting with being on those platforms is mass volume. If a lot of people are taking the course and they're giving you high reviews and praise, and they're really enjoying your content, Udemy obviously is going to push it out more within the network, within the algorithm, and you will can potentially sell more courses. So it's based on volume, it's volume sales. But if you are selling it on your own, independent of a network like a Udemy or a Skillshare, you're doing all the marketing. It's all on you. And so, you're having to really build a list. You're having to build up an audience of some sort. You're all the marketing is falling on you. You may have to explore Facebook ads. There's more components involved. You're making less. You may be selling less units, meaning less courses, but you're making more money per course that you sell because of the fact you're not exclusively relying on volume. So there is an art and a science to doing all of these things. And if you listen to the series on how to create irresistible freebies, that's some of that information. Those links are gonna those topics I discussed is gonna be sort of the first step or the first phase, if you will, in building up an audience so that you would have a list of subscribers to sell your course to when you do create it. So again, if you haven't built that freebie out, whatever that may be, in order to build up that audience so that when you're ready to launch your course, you've got someone to sell it to, that's a good place to start. And that's why I started with that first, because again, the list building part is key. You have to do that. Otherwise, you don't have anyone to sell it to. So again, if you haven't listened to that series, go back and I'll put the links in the show notes there on how to check out those episodes to start learning how to put that freebie together so that you can then build up that list so that you have an audience that you can run your idea by, validate your course idea before you create it, and then eventually sell it. So again, those platforms, Udemy and Skillshare, are good platforms to check out. Now, if you also are having an issue with, with the expert thing aside, the only thing that you need to know how to do is to, again, if I don't know anything about how to make, I'm going to switch away from the caramel apple topic. If I don't know anything about how to make sourdough bread, and I just want to learn how to make sourdough bread, you know more about it than I do. And if I really want to do this, and again, I trust you because I feel a connection to you through however you show up online, chances are that I'm going to sign up for your course on how to make sourdough bread. Now, this is where it gets tricky. And this is where a lot of us can mess ourselves up. Because we have platforms like YouTube, pretty much any topic that you could possibly want to learn about, there is a video, at least one, if not dozens of videos on how to do practically anything. And so, no, let me say yes. I have every confidence that there are videos on YouTube about how to make caramel apples. I have no doubt about it. I have no doubt there's videos on YouTube on how to take photographs with your iPhone and how to build a website and how to make Scrabble tile jewelry and all the things I've talked about, how to paint, with watercolors and, and oil paints and, you name it. I have no doubt there's a video on YouTube about it. So in knowing this, we can make the assumption that, and very easily make the assumption, why would someone pay me to take a course from me if they can go to YouTube and watch a video on this topic for free? And this is the best answer I've ever heard to that question. Because I'm a person who's gone to YouTube to find out what I want to know about a lot of things that I want to know about. If I'm just wanting a quick answer to something, I'm going to go check out YouTube. That's just a part of my Google search that I do, which Google owns YouTube, if I'm trying to figure out how to do something. Say how to maybe make a plugin. I'm having issues with a plugin on a WordPress website. I'm going to go to YouTube and see if I can find an answer. And 9 times out of 10, I do find an answer. But the thing of it is that I have to go search for that. And I'm going to use this as an example because it's a real one. I was building a website for a client about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and the plugin that I was trying to install to connect her autoresponder to her forum on her website had perfectly simple instructions. They didn't work. So I had to go to YouTube. Well, I didn't have to go. I just knew to go to YouTube to see if I could find a solution. One of the videos that I saw actually missed a step. So even though I did what the person in the video said to do, it still didn't work. So I had to keep searching other videos and watching other videos to figure out to learn that the video that I was relying on, the first one that I watched, actually missed a step. So it took me, quite honestly, a few hours for me to go on my own research mission to find out that, first of all, the initial application didn't work. Then the first video I saw left a step out. But the only way I found that out was because I had to find other videos to find out what step was missed. If I have an interest in a topic that I really want to spend time diving into, I don't really want to spend my time on YouTube doing endless searches trying to find all the information that I need to do the thing I want to learn how to do. So I say all of this to say is that yes, everything that you could potentially teach is online somewhere for free, most likely on YouTube. But that's not what people pay for. People will pay you to learn how to do it because you've already done all of the research. You figured out all the nuances. You know all the secret tricks and tips and steps. You have the list of resources. You have all of the connections. You know how to connect the dots and put the missing pieces together. You know the things for them to look out for that you can warn them about, head them and steer them in the right direction. You know all of those things. If you teach maybe acrylic painting, you may know that of these 3 or 4 different brands, this particular brand is the best, and you can explain why. You can say with this particular brand, while this has certain features about it I like, it has other things that I don't like. Because you've done the boots on the ground experiential work, you know what works and what doesn't. And people will pay you. That's your expertise. I want to tie this to the first point. That's your expertise. If you really know the ins and outs, in as much as you can, know the ins and outs of a particular topic, you can then share those nuances. You can share those differentiations. You can share those experiences that you had with your students. Because I can tell you something. At that particular day when I was spending all that time trying to figure out how to make that plugin work and the thing I couldn't get it to work, I would have gladly paid someone just to tell me because I was over looking and searching through all these videos trying to do my own sleuthing mission to find out why this plugin didn't work. So to land the plane on this topic, your course buys speed. They're paying for speed. And you're saving them time. It's not about the thing that you tell them how to do. It's about the fact that you can accelerate their learning curve. You can catch them when they're doing things that you know from personal experience, yeah, that way might work, but this way is better. This tool may work for you, but I know about this one over here. Because a YouTube video, whatever that person puts together, is only going to talk about that one aspect, that one micro thing. That person is not going to give you a whole class for free in a video. It's going to give you one micro aspect of the topic. So people will always buy online courses because they want to save time and they want to find someone that can give them the shortcuts, someone that can show them where the landmines are, someone that can help them speed up their process so that they can get on to doing the thing that they bought the course for, and not trying to figure out after they bought the course, well, I'm doing this, but why isn't this working? They also want access to you. So another reason why you can charge more money for a course is because you can set it for a fixed term. Say like you do a course experience that maybe lasts 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever you want to do. Or you can have an ongoing Facebook group connected to your course where if anyone ever has a question, they can always find you and they can get their questions answered. So in maybe say a course that you might get on, say like a Udemy or a Skillshare, basically once the content's uploaded, I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to misspeak here, but I don't know how much the teacher, the creator of the course, I don't know how involved they are with their students in terms of answering questions over the long term. I have no doubt that there may be some that are always checking comments and answering questions, but I would venture to say if the person's only making $10 or $15 or $20 for a course, they're not going to spend all of their time answering questions of students in forums and things like that. But if you charge a premium price, and let's say you set a fixed term where you're going to be available to answer questions for your students, you can charge more money for that. Absolutely, you can charge more money for that. And so again, it's not just about the videos and the PDFs and the audios and the graphs and all the other components of delivering the content in the course. It's about their access to you to ask those nuanced questions that maybe you didn't cover in the course, or the things that you maybe have shared in the course, but perhaps things are changed or not quite working for them, or maybe they can't find a particular ingredient or a particular tool that you recommended, that maybe you recommended something, they can't locate it, and so maybe they can ask you a question about how to maybe substitute or source something else. So that's the other benefit of having, where if you sell your own higher ticket course, you can then add that element of support for your students, and people will pay for that. That has a value to it. Your involvement in their process is valuable to them. So again, I hope that this dispels the myth about the free content on YouTube. Yes, that's a true statement, but that's not what people are paying for. The people who are just going to go to YouTube, and this is another thing I'm going to add on to this topic. If people are only going to go to YouTube and that's the only thing they rely on, they're probably not going to sign up for anybody's course, so I wouldn't even worry about that. They're just not your student. They're not your client. And as far as an expert status goes, you just got to know more than the person that's coming to you to sign up for your course. If the person comes to you and they have no idea where to get started, and you can walk them through the process A to Z, you're golden in that respect. They will listen to you. They will view you as an expert because they have no one else to compare you to. And again, academic credential is not a requirement to teach a course on pretty much any creative aspect of your talent set. So don't worry about that. The other thing too that I wanted to bring up is the thing of, doesn't everyone know this? This comes up because we can master something. When we started out, we were novices and green and didn't know how to get started. But if we have a skill or a talent that we've been pursuing for a while, we have amassed a degree of self-knowledge and self-confidence in our ability to be able to do a certain task or a certain skill. So, but what comes of that is we can get into this idea that this is common knowledge and that everyone, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes here with my fingers, everyone knows this. And that's not true, because at one point you didn't know it. So again, because something becomes second nature to us, we can get into this assumption phase that no one's going to pay us for this because it's so second nature to us. And again, that's just not true. You know, people will, I mean, I literally was on a phone call yesterday with someone that reached out to me for help with a program that I'm vaguely familiar with, but I fortunately knew enough to know to answer him as to the thing he was trying to do and why he called me for wasn't working. And we spent a little time on the phone and text messaging back and forth to troubleshoot the problem. And somehow or another, I had the intuitive hit to ask him this one question, which I couldn't believe I didn't think to ask him in the first place. And when I asked him about this one particular aspect of his account with this program he was using, and he revealed my suspicion to me, confirmed my suspicion, I immediately went, "Oh, that's why you're having this problem." Now, in that moment, he looked at me like I was a saving grace to him. And mind you, I didn't know a whole heck of a lot more than he did. But I had been working with this program before and I had some familiarization with its nuances. And I just had an intuitive hit that this would maybe the kind of account that he had set up. And when I asked him about it, he confirmed what I thought. And then we figured out what the problem was. And then we were able to troubleshoot and he was able to fix it himself. Now, I could have sat back and said, well, don't you know this already? Or doesn't everyone know how to do this? And the answer is no. Everyone doesn't know how to do what you do. And even if they do know how to do what you do, not everyone's going to know how to do it, and not everyone's going to know how to do it the way you know how to do it. So the focus of this particular episode is going to be on the topic of online courses, is to start to value your knowledge, value your skills, value your expertise, value your intuition, value what you have, value your resources. Don't assume everyone knows what you know. Don't feel like you got to go out and be certified or get a degree to teach what it is that you can teach. And don't assume that everyone's going to go to YouTube, so why would they buy a course from you? Because those are the things that are going to hold you back. And if you don't get that straight in your head, you don't get that clear, it doesn't matter if you can validate the course idea. It doesn't matter if you can set up the marketing and create the course and find students. If you're going to undercut yourself because somewhere in the back of your mind, you're not fully embracing what you have to offer. So you've got to get this straight in your head first before you start talking about putting together anything for sale, because otherwise you will self-sabotage. And I don't want that for you. I want you to be focused, straight and clear about what you're doing, what you have to offer, who you can help, and how you can help them. And then be able to put it together and offer it in a way that they feel your sincerity, they see your passion, and you're willing to help. And you've only got to know a little bit more than they do. Of course, will you grow? Will you learn even more? Absolutely. And as you learn more and you continue to learn more about your chosen field of study or topic, you'll package that up, and put that in, you'll put that in, you'll put that in an advanced course. So again, I want to encourage you. I can't encourage you enough to really get your head clear, get your head in a good space to where you can really fully support yourself and know that you do have something valuable to offer. Someone out there is looking to learn how to do that thing only you know how to do the way you know how to do it. And that goes into so-called competition. You can go to Udemy for an example. I have no doubt in my mind that there are several different people teaching acrylic painting or how to bake sourdough bread or how to decorate a cake. But the only difference is the individual person. No one's going to teach it exactly like you. So again, if the competition thing, don't let that be something that trips you up. Competition is actually a good thing. You actually want to see that there are other courses out there, online courses in your genre, on your topic. You want to see that. That's a good thing, because if you see that, then that means there is a demand for this topic. And if you go to episode podcast, get pay for your creativity.com/013 for episode 13, I have a whole like almost like a mini course in and of itself on that episode, on that podcast, where I talk about how to research markets, how to find audiences and research competition, looking for keywords and the whole 9 yards. So it was actually my take on the book by Ryan Levesque called Choose. And that particular book is on the topic of choosing an ideal market and how to research. So I recommend checking out that podcast episode, getpaidforyourcreativity.com/013 for episode 13. Listen to that episode. Get the book by Ryan Levesque, Choose, as you're researching your market. But yes, you absolutely do, without question, you want to find quote unquote competition. You want to see that people are writing books on the subject and selling them on Amazon. You want to see it come up in Google searches. You want to see similar courses on Udemy and on Skillshare. You want to see those things. If you don't see that anywhere online, that's a huge red flag that there may not be enough of a market and willing to invest in the topic that you want to teach. So do check that out. So before I wrap, I want to share with you again a few more resources. Now, as I've talked about throughout this episode, I mentioned who I'm calling the caramel apple lady. Her name is Danara Cincenos. And I know I'm pronouncing her name wrong. And if she ever listens to this episode, I'm so sorry. But I know that I'm pronouncing her last name wrong. But I know her first name is Danara. Anyway, her company is called Danny's Dulce Confections, and that's where you can learn all about her courses and how to make caramel apples and so forth. The link is also in the show notes on episode number 27, getpaidforyourcreativity.com/027. So again, I apologize to her if she ever listens to this. Hopefully, if I can get her on the show, she'll tell me how to pronounce her name properly, so I'll know how to say it. Also, I have a link to if you're like a visual artist, like a painter, for an example. I invite you to check out Lane Johnson, Layne. He has a variety of different courses. He's a beautiful painter in Texas, I believe, that has several beautiful courses on that how to paint. So I have a link in the show notes also to look at his courses and what he's offering. Also, as I mentioned, the Ryan Levesque review that I did for his book Choose, episode 13, and also to see again an example of a mini course that I created. I would say check out the 57 Ways to Monetize Your Gifts. I'm going to get more into the content creation aspect of this in a future episode of this series. But that in and of itself is a mini course. It was initially a PDF ebook that I also recorded. So I did an audio iteration of it and a PDF iteration of it. That kind of illustrates. Once, I want you to get it just because I think it's a good piece of content to have to inspire you and keep you motivated. But also, it's an example of how easy it is to put together a mini course of some sort. And as we go through these next several episodes of this particular series, I'm going to get more into how to put something physically together. But again, if you don't have the 57 Ways to Monetize Your Gifts ebook and audiobook, I definitely recommend checking that out. And you can find that out at 57 getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57 ways gift. The link is also inside the show notes for number 27. So you can find all of that there. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of go into, again, the issues, the concerns, maybe the stumbling blocks, the internal things that come up for us that can stump us and stop us from going for something that really can change our lives, not just for a creative expression, but also financially, and also really be a connecting tool for people out there who want to learn. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Before I saw, Danara's e-course on caramel apples. I had no idea. That really shocked me that she could make a course on something that seems as simple to me as making caramel apples, and that she could sell that for as much as $200 and sell that much of a program. That really opened my eyes. That was a big game changer for me. And I know that inspired me to create this series. So again, for nothing else, go check that out, because again, it really will inspire you for what is possible for you to be able to do. So again, I want you to read all the show notes. Go over there to getpaidforyourcreativity.com/027 for episode 27. I also want to invite you to connect with me on Instagram at Creatorpreneur Podcast. The link is also in the show notes. And DM me. Use the DMs. I look forward to connecting with my listeners there. So if you have an idea for a course, or you're struggling with one of these blocks that I just talked about, and I'll go over those again before I wrap up, message me on Instagram and I will reply. I will reply to you, as I want to take what happens in the podcast and take it to another platform where we can actually communicate. And I want to make myself available to connect with you. And so that's why I really encourage you to connect with me on Instagram. So the link is there in the show notes. Feel free to send me a DM and I will reply to you. Also, if you've been finding value in this episode or any of the podcast episodes in the past, I would love it if you would like and maybe review the show. I would love to feature your review, and read it out loud on future podcast episodes. So feel free to leave me a review. Let me know how I can improve, and let me know what you liked. I'm open to all suggestions and and critiques and so forth. So it's all good. It's all good. I'm fine with it all. And share with your friends. I'd love to get other listeners like you listening to the show. Again, it'll help me grow and help me, just develop and keep myself inspired for new ideas and things that I can share with you. So again, before I wrap it up, I just want to go over the 4 areas, actually I wrote 4. 2 of them are very similar to why you could be stopping yourself from creating your own online course. One is saying to yourself, I'm not an expert. 2, I don't know enough about anything to get someone to pay me to teach it. 3, besides, doesn't everyone know this already? And 4, why would someone give me money for information they can find for free on YouTube? So I hope that I help dispel all of those myths and all of those concerns, those false concerns and false assumptions and concerns. All of it is all in your head. It's not the truth. And if you have something that you're dying to teach, something that you're dying to share through the platform of an online course, do yourself and all of us a favor and go for it. Pursue it. Again, can message me on Instagram. Tell me what you're thinking about putting together. I have no doubt in my mind that I will probably send you links to other resources that I've come across. I'll probably give you a couple of tips here and there, and maybe even have a phone conversation with you just to help keep you motivated and inspired. So again, we're going to be featuring the next episode 28. I'm going to continue this conversation about how to create an online course. And again, I want to keep the conversation going. So I'm feeling fairly confident that at least the next 1 to possibly 2 or 3 episodes are going to be a continuation on this topic. We're moving into the fall season now. School time is upon us. People are back in school. As I had one of my earlier mentors say, this is the time of the year for brand new pencils and fresh notebooks. So education is in the air right now. People are definitely in the mood for learning. Fall and winter is going to be upon us soon, so people will be looking for things online to do, to occupy their time and to expand their knowledge and education. So now is a good time to think about putting together your first pilot online course. And if I can be of assistance in helping you figure out what that's going to be, I am more than ready to help you do that. So again, feel free to connect with me on Instagram. And I would love to support you any way I can. So with all that said, get your show notes here again at getpaidforyourcreativity.com/027 for episode 27. And I'll see you next week on a fresh episode of the Creatorpreneur Podcast. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next time. Goodbye. We have entered the age of creative self-employment. In the new economy, people are creating true security for themselves. That's why I believe there has never been a better time in history to monetize your gifts. So if you're ready to take control of your financial and creative future, I have something for you. It's my free audio and PDF program, 57 Ways to Monetize Your Gifts and Create True Security for Yourself. And you can get that at my website, getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57 ways gift.